Dua Lipa, the guest on this episode of the Hollywood Reporters Awards Chatter podcast, is a three-time Grammy-winning singer-songwriter who is one of the biggest pop stars in the world. A Brit who has been described by the New York Times as a powerhouse young artist, by Vanity Fair as a bona fide superstar, and by Time as one of the most influential people in the world. She has to her name hit singles like Levitating, Don't Start Now, Cold Heart, Last Dance, New Rules, Houdini, and, from Greta Gerwig's critically acclaimed summer blockbuster Barbie, Dance the Night, which on November 10th garnered Grammy nominations for Song of the Year and Best Song Written for Visual Media, and is now very much in the running for a Best Original Song Oscar nomination as well. Over the course of a conversation at the London West Hollywood, the 28-year-old reflected on her childhood split between London and Kosovo, how she wound up signing her first record deal in 2015, the origins and bangers of her 2017 self-titled debut album and her 2020 pandemic-era second album Future Nostalgia, how she came to be a part of Barbie and wrote, with Mark Ronson, Caroline Ailin and Andrew Wyatt, Dance the Night, plus much more. Dua, thank you so much for doing the podcast. Can you tell our listeners where you were born and what your folks did for a living? Yeah, I was born in London in 1995, and at that point, my parents were working in bars and restaurants while at the same time studying in the evening. People talk about your work ethic, and I know it's major, but theirs sound pretty incredible too. Yeah, well, I think I get I get my work ethic from my parents and seeing them really adapt to any situation. Now you've spoken about how a lot of your mindset and worldview has been shaped by the immigrant experience. You were born in London, but your parents were not. How did they wind up there? They fled the Yugoslavian War. They left Kosovo then. My dad was in a band. He was in a rock group, but he was studying to be a dentist, and my mom was studying law at the time. In 1992, they decided to leave Kosovo and come to London. And their life completely changed at that point. The fact that your dad had been involved with music, was that part of what got you into music as a kid? How early on were you listening to and kind of a fan of music? I think from the moment I came out the womb, I was listening to music. Music was so present in my life. Both my parents have always been singing around the house, playing artists that they love. I think I had a good range of knowledge of a lot of amazing artists and songs way before I could even speak. And so music just felt like second nature to me. When we listen to your music now, it makes sense based on who you were personally into as a kid. Yeah, artists that my parents listened to a lot were David Bowie and Elton John and Oasis and Blur, and then Blondie. It was such a mix of so many different artists. And I think for me, after listening to and loving all the music that my parents listened to, that became then my favorite music and the music that I always go back to as the music that makes me feel the best. Then, I was maybe 9, 10, or 11 when I discovered my favorite pop artists. And that was like, Nelly Furtado? Nelly Furtado. It was the Whoa, Nelly album that really changed my life. Then it was Misunderstood by Pink. And also Songs in a Minor by Alicia Keys. All of these women have such a strong identity, and when you're a young girl and you hear these artists and their stories, I just felt so connected. So all I wanted to do was sing their songs and listen to their music. They had so much independence and strength and attitude that I was like, when I grow up, I want to be just like them.